Welcome to Dreamy History, where we explore the slow, steady rhythms of the past. I'm here to guide you through the mundane but fascinating details of history, designed to help you drift into a peaceful sleep. Before we begin, take a moment to get comfortable, dim the lights, and settle into your blanket. Let your body relax, the weight of the day gently slipping away. With each breath, allow your muscles to unwind and let go of the tension that may still linger. Close your eyes if you haven't already, and allow the quiet sounds of the past to fill your mind. In this episode, we'll be exploring the everyday accounting practices in medieval trade guilds. These simple yet essential tasks helped shape the thriving markets of medieval Europe. They may seem ordinary, but when we delve into the quiet routine of these practices, you might just find comfort in their repetitiveness. Let's begin. As the first rays of sunlight softly spill through the misty air, the village begins to stir. It's still early, and the coolness of the morning hangs in the atmosphere, with dew collecting on the grass and rooftops. The gentle creak of wooden beams as the house begins to awaken marks the start of another predictable day. From your humble bed, you rise slowly, with no rush, as the quiet of the morning settles around you. You walk across the cold stone floor, your feet making faint, soft sounds as you approach your tools, which are neatly stored in a small wooden chest in the corner of your room. It is the beginning of your day, and there is no great ceremony in your preparations. The familiar act of gathering your tools, the hammer, the measuring tape, or whatever implements your trade requires, feels like the opening of a long, familiar book. The scent of the bread from yesterday still lingers in the air. It's a dull scent, slightly stale, yet comforting, signaling that the basics of survival, the simple work of a tradesman, have already been completed by others. The fire, though small and low, continues to crackle in the hearth. The warmth of the embers provides a gentle contrast to the cool air that creeps through the cracks in the walls. You can hear the occasional scuffle of feet as other villagers begin to move about their homes. There's no rush to start your work. The pace of life is slow. Each motion, from stretching your legs to lifting the tools, is carried out in a slow, deliberate manner. It is a routine you know all too well, the repetitive motion of preparing for the day's work. Your mind does not race. Rather, it lingers on the soft sound of your breath and the rhythm of the actions required. With a steady hand, you pick up the tools, feeling their weight, knowing they are not just tools of the trade, but extensions of your own body. The stone floors beneath your feet feel rough, as they always do, but they are comforting in their permanence. It is a world without hurry. The day will unfold as it always does, slowly and predictably, with no surprises. As you take the time to prepare, you're aware that the outside world, too, is preparing in its own way. But here, within these walls, time does not rush. The village is starting to come alive, but there is no urgency in the sounds that surround you. The soft murmur of voices drifts from the other houses, punctuated by the occasional clink of metal as someone readies their tools for the day. The streets outside are quiet, still covered in a slight mist that lingers, stubbornly clinging to the earth. The sun has not yet reached its peak, and the world outside remains hushed, as if waiting for the full light of day to break. You sit down at the simple wooden table, its rough-hewn surface still cool from the night. The smell of yesterday's bread, now hardened from a full night's exposure, mixes with the earthy scent of the room. The bread is stale, but its sustenance, Next to it, a chunk of cheese rests in its place, already a familiar part of your morning routine. Perhaps there is a small bowl of porridge on the table. Though simple and plain, it is nourishing, something to fill the stomach and prepare for the work ahead. A mug of ale, cold and refreshing, sits beside your plate. There's no rush to consume it. Every bite, every sip is part of the steady rhythm of your life. The taste of the bread is dry, but it brings comfort. You chew slowly, savoring the few crumbs that fall, feeling the texture of the cheese against your tongue as you wash it down with the cold ale. There is no conversation at the table. Silence is the expected companion of these moments. The only sounds are the quiet crunch of the bread and the subtle scrape of your spoon against the bowl. It is a routine that never changes day after day. This is your nourishment. Outside, a few children can be heard laughing, though their voices are distant and faint. A rooster's call echoes somewhere down the street, signaling the early hour, but it is not jarring. It's simply part of the natural progression of morning. There is no need for any hurried gestures or movement. The work will begin soon, but for now, breakfast is the most important task, steady and calm. Each morning feels almost identical to the one before it. The food is never extravagant, nor is it unpleasant. It is simply a means of preparation, a part of the rhythm of the day that keeps life flowing. As you finish your meal, you feel the energy from the food begin to settle into your body. There is no heaviness, no urgency, just the steady satisfaction that comes from nourishment. The time for breakfast has passed, and the sun now casts a brighter light across the streets. You step outside into the cool air, feeling the crispness of the morning on your skin. The village is slowly waking up, and the town square, though not yet bustling, is showing signs of life. The cobblestone streets are slightly damp from the early morning mist, and your footsteps echo softly as you make your way down the narrow alley towards the Guildhall. The sounds around you are still faint, the hum of distant voices, the faint creak of carts rolling over cobblestones, and the occasional clop of hooves as a horse passes by. The air smells of fresh earth, mingled with the subtle scent of wood smoke. There are no hurried footsteps, no fast pace. Everything around you moves at its own steady rhythm, just as you do. The town square is a simple place, with few distractions. A few market stalls have already been set up, with their owners preparing to begin their day of trade. The items for sale: leather, cloth, spices, and wool are neatly arranged on the tables, waiting for the day's transactions. A few other tradesmen are already walking toward the Guildhall, but they too walk slowly, almost as though they are savoring the time before the work begins. As you reach the Guildhall, the heavy wooden door creaks as you push it open. The building is humble, but it is where the day's work will take place. The familiar scent of old wood, ink, and parchment greets you as you step inside. It's a quiet, familiar space. You are not in a hurry. The work will unfold at its usual pace. The rhythm of the day will be established here, just as it has been for countless others before you. With every step you take toward your desk, every breath you take as you enter the Guildhall, there is a quiet sense of anticipation, but no rush. Inside the Guildhall, the atmosphere is calm and steady. The walls are lined with wooden shelves, holding large ledgers, scrolls, and records from past days. The faint smell of parchment and ink lingers in the air, a reminder of the work that takes place here. The only sounds are the soft murmur of voices from the other members, and the steady scratching of quills against parchment. The guild hall is dimly lit, with just enough light filtering in through small windows to create a peaceful, muted atmosphere. The room is filled with simple wooden tables, at which various guild members are already at work. Some are reviewing records, while others are involved in quiet conversations about the day's trades. A few scribes are busy writing in their ledgers, their quills moving in slow, deliberate motions. The rhythm of the room is unmistakable. The work here is steady and measured, but not hurried. There is no rush to complete the day's tasks. Each transaction, each entry in the ledger, is handled with calm deliberation. The guild members do not speak quickly or loudly, but instead engage in quiet conversation, discussing the necessary details of their work. As you walk through the hall, you can hear the faint scratching of the quills, the low murmur of voices discussing business, and the occasional rustle of parchment being turned. The hall is a place of quiet activity, a space where the work of the day is carried out with a gentle, unhurried rhythm. This is where the business of the guild takes place. But there is no sense of rush. The work is steady, predictable, and calm, just as it has been for years. As you sit down at your desk and prepare to begin, you know that the day will unfold in the same familiar pattern it always does. As the morning hours slowly pass, the guildmaster arrives, his presence a quiet but undeniable shift in the atmosphere. The door creaks open, and he steps into the hall. His attire is simple, yet it carries a sense of authority. A robe of dark, worn fabric, faded from years of service, and a simple cap placed neatly upon his head. He's not a man of grandeur, but his position requires respect. The guild members pause their quiet work, acknowledging his presence with subtle nods, though none speak. He stands at the head of the room, his hand resting on a large wooden table where several ledgers are spread out. There's a quiet murmur of voices, a ripple of soft sounds as the guild members begin to gather around him. His voice, when it emerges, is low and deliberate, carrying through the room with a calm assurance that demands attention without raising its tone. His words are not of excitement or urgency, but of necessity. Today, we focus on settling our accounts, he states, his voice calm and steady. Every transaction, every debt must be accounted for. No detail is too small. We must be thorough. The words hang in the air, filling the room with a quiet sense of purpose. The members nod, each understanding the importance of their work. The guild master continues, explaining the importance of precision in the records. He does not rush his words, for in this world there is no rush. He speaks slowly, allowing each sentence to settle before continuing, as if savoring the comfort of routine. In this moment, you notice the silence that follows his instructions. It's not oppressive, but rather peaceful. The guild members disperse to their respective places, gathering their ledgers and quills, preparing for the work ahead. The rhythm of the guild hall resumes, steady and methodical. The guild master's instructions are a reminder of the day's goals, but the work will unfold at its usual pace. The clock slowly ticks forward, and the day begins in earnest. The guild hall hums with the soft sounds of quills scratching against parchment, the occasional rustle of paper, and the low murmur of voices as tradesmen bring in goods, complete sales, and exchange promises of payment. The guild members are absorbed in their work, each task carried out with a sense of calm. One by one, the tradesmen approach the table, presenting their wares or showing evidence of their transactions. Perhaps a weaver comes in with a bolt of fine cloth, or a blacksmith presents a batch of newly forged iron tools. Each transaction is recorded, but it is done so methodically. The scribes take their time, ensuring each detail is correct before making a mark in the ledger. A date is written down, followed by the name of the seller and the goods exchanged. If money changes hands, the amount is noted with careful attention. There is no rush in the air. The day unfolds slowly, with each transaction taking its due time. Every piece of information is noted down as if it were the most important detail of the day. The sound of the quill against the parchment, scratching the ink across the page, fills the room. It is a steady, comforting sound, marking the passage of time as the transactions accumulate. As you watch, you realize that this is the rhythm of the guild's life. Every transaction, though small, is part of a much larger system that relies on precision and steadiness. The work may seem mundane, even tedious, but it is essential to the guild's survival and prosperity. And so, the scribes write on, their hands steady, their minds focused on the task at hand. After hours of quiet work, the bell tolls for lunch. It's not a loud or urgent sound, but a soft reminder that the day must take a pause. The room gradually empties as guild members take their leave, heading to small, simple meals. The work is set aside, but it is not forgotten. It is simply given a brief rest, just as the members themselves are. The village outside the guild hall is still quiet. The air is slightly warmer now, the sun creeping higher into the sky. The tradesmen gather in small groups, perhaps under the shade of a nearby tree or near the low stone walls that surround the guild hall. The meals are modest pieces of bread, small portions of cheese, and maybe a bowl of vegetable stew. There is no extravagance in the food. It is meant only to nourish, to provide enough energy for the tasks that lie ahead. The conversations around the table are hushed, each member discussing the morning's transactions, perhaps sharing small details about the work to come. No one speaks quickly. The words come slowly, carefully. There is no need to hurry. After all, there is still much to be done. The rest of the village seems to carry on in the same manner. The world outside is calm, unhurried, moving at its own steady pace. As you finish your meal, there is no sense of urgency. There's no desire to rush back to work. Instead, you feel the calmness of the break settle over you, and you remain still for a moment, letting the peace of the quiet afternoon wash over you. The work will resume, but for now, the world is content to remain in this small pause. As the sun begins to dip below the horizon, the guild hall grows quieter. The soft light from the windows begins to fade, replaced by the flicker of candlelight. The final transactions of the day are being completed. The air is filled with the faint sound of quills scratching on parchment. But now, the movement is slower, more deliberate. The day's work is winding down, but the final accounts must be settled before the night can come. The scribes review their ledgers one last time, checking for any mistakes, any discrepancies. It is a quiet, patient task. Each number, each name is carefully reviewed, ensuring that everything is in order. There is no rush. The day has already unfolded at its own pace, and the final steps are no different. The guildmaster walks through the hall one last time, ensuring everything is in place. His steps are slow, methodical, as he glances over the records. There is no need for spoken words now. The work is done, and the guild members are wrapping up their tasks. As the evening settles in, the atmosphere is calm and peaceful. The steady rhythm of the Guildhall has carried you through the day. And now, as the last entries are made, there is a deep sense of satisfaction in the air. The records are complete, and the cycle will begin again tomorrow. The quiet hum of the Guildhall fades, and as the last candle flickers out, you are left with the stillness of a job well done. The steady rhythm of the day has given way to the quiet of the night, and the work is complete, at least for now. Edric rises early, the pale light of dawn casting faint shadows on the rough stone walls of his small home. The village is still quiet, with only the soft rustling of leaves in the early morning breeze breaking the silence. The cold stone floor greets his bare feet as he rises from his simple bed, which is little more than a straw mattress on a wooden frame. His room is sparse, with only the bare essentials for daily living: a table covered with parchment and ink pots, a few personal items tucked away in a small chest, and the tools of his trade. As a scribe for the guild, Edric's role is simple, but it requires dedication and precision. His work begins with the gathering of his tools: the quill, the ink pot, the parchment, and the steady knowledge of the work that lies ahead. His hand moves as naturally as if he were drawing breath, preparing his desk for the day's task. He does not rush. There is no need for haste in his world. The work will come in its own time. Edric's life is defined by repetition. The motion of dipping the quill into the ink pot and bringing it to the parchment feels as natural as walking. His day is filled with steady, calm work: writing, recording, transcribing. As he begins the first entry of the day, the soft scratch of the quill against parchment is almost rhythmic, creating a steady pulse in the otherwise quiet morning. The room smells faintly of ink, wood, and the faint, earthy scent of the village outside. Each task he undertakes is essential, though it might appear dull to an outsider. But for Edric, this repetition brings comfort. His world is steady, and the monotony of the work creates a sense of security. There is no hurry, no rush to finish. Each day is like the one before, and that is exactly as he likes it. As a young boy, Edric spent many years in the shadow of the older scribes who trained him in the art of record-keeping. It was a slow process, one that demanded patience and precision. He would spend hours in the dim light of the Guildhall, copying documents, practicing his script, and learning the intricacies of accounting. The older scribes would sit at their desks, the scratch of their quills filling the air, while Edric dutifully practiced in a corner. The training was not glamorous. It was repetitive and required immense focus. The day would stretch on with little conversation. It was just the sound of the quill against parchment, the occasional muttering of the older scribes, and the slow, steady passage of time. There was nothing fast or urgent about it. Each letter was formed with care, ensuring that the script was neat and legible. Mistakes were rare, but when they occurred, they were corrected with great care. There was no room for carelessness in the guild's records. For young Edric, the world outside the Guildhall seemed distant and irrelevant. The sun rose and set, but it was the passage of time within these walls that mattered most. He learned the value of accuracy and attention to detail. He knew that the guild relied on these records, on the careful balancing of accounts, and on the precision of the scribes like him. The work was slow, methodical, but it was the backbone of the guild's success. Over time, Edric became adept at his craft, the steady rhythm of his quill strokes echoing the quiet, repetitive nature of the work. Edric's role in the guild was simple but crucial. As the scribe, his primary responsibility was to record every transaction, every sale, every purchase, and every debt. The guild depended on the accuracy of these records to maintain its operations, and Edric carried this responsibility quietly but with great seriousness. The day unfolded in much the same way as it had for years. The tradesmen would come in, present their goods, and exchange them for coins or other goods. The transaction would then be recorded in Edric's ledger in careful detail. Each entry was written in a clear hand, with dates, names, and the specific goods being exchanged. The process was slow but precise, as each transaction was logged with care. There was no sense of urgency in the room. It was just the steady scratching of quills, the occasional murmur of voices, and the quiet sound of paper being turned. Sometimes, Edric would overhear the conversations between the guild members. They would discuss the trades of the day, the prices of goods, or the business dealings that needed attention. But Edric did not engage in these discussions. His role was to observe, to listen, and to record. He did not participate in the transactions, but he ensured that every one of them was accounted for. The ledger was the most important thing. Without accurate records, the guild could not function. And so, Edric worked quietly, focusing on his task, knowing that his steady, repetitive work was what kept the guild's wheels turning smoothly. To an outsider, Edric's work might seem tedious and uneventful. After all, he spent his days recording simple transactions, balancing accounts, and ensuring that the guild's books were kept in order. But in the medieval world, this work was essential. Without the meticulous record-keeping that Edric provided, the guild would have been unable to function. The day-to-day business would have become chaotic, and debts would have been lost. Goods would have been misplaced, and the guild's reputation would have suffered. The work was repetitive, and Edric's life revolved around it. Each day felt like the one before. The same tasks, the same actions, the same rhythm. There were no surprises. The world outside the guild hall continued to move at its own pace, but inside, the rhythm of the scribe's work was constant. There was a sense of peace in this repetition. It provided a structure to the day, a sense of order in a world that could be chaotic. Edric did not mind the monotony. It gave his life meaning. He knew that every mark he made on the parchment mattered, even if it seemed insignificant. Each entry was part of a larger system, a system that ensured the guild's success and prosperity. His work, though simple, was the backbone of the guild's operations. Without it, the guild would not be able to function. By the end of the day, Edric's work is done. The ledger is full, every transaction recorded with precision. His quill rests beside the book, the ink pot empty, the parchment covered with neat rows of writing. The work has been steady, and now, as the sun begins to set, there is a quiet sense of satisfaction. The day's tasks are complete, and the guild's accounts are in order. There is no rush to leave. The guild members, one by one, begin to gather their belongings and prepare to head home. The guild hall is filled with a calm stillness as the last of the day's transactions are settled. Edric remains at his desk for a few moments longer, reviewing his work. The ledger is flawless. He has done his part. It's a small accomplishment, but it's enough. The quiet satisfaction of knowing that everything is in order, that the guild's business will continue tomorrow without disruption, brings a sense of peace to Edric. There is no fanfare, no celebration, just the slow, steady rhythm of the day coming to an end. He stands, stretches, and gathers his belongings, ready to leave the guild hall behind for the night. The routine of the day has been completed, and now there is only the quiet of the evening ahead. The village outside is still, the air cool with the first whispers of night. Edric steps out into the world, knowing that tomorrow will bring more of the same. But for now, he is content in the simple satisfaction of a job well done. As the day winds down and the last traces of light filter through the windows of the guild hall, Edric reflects on the quiet, often unnoticed importance of his work. He has never been one to seek recognition. His role is one that exists in the shadows, far from the bustling trade, the lively discussions, or the visible exchanges of goods and money. But as the guildmaster reviews the accounts later in the evening, Edric knows that without his careful records, the guild's operations would collapse. Each ledger entry, though seemingly insignificant on its own, is a vital part of a much larger machine. When the guildmaster or the merchant leaders call upon the records, it is Edric's work they rely on to guide the future of the guild. The debts, payments, and exchanges he meticulously logs are the foundation upon which the guild's success rests. His quiet attention to detail ensures that the guild remains financially solvent, that disputes are settled, and that the guild can continue to thrive. There's a strange satisfaction in this hidden work, the knowledge that the guild's prosperity depends on the accuracy of the ledgers. Yet few ever take the time to acknowledge the scribes who keep those records. It is a solitary task, one that is done in silence, and the results of that labor often go unnoticed by the broader community. But for Edric, that is not a cause for disappointment. He finds his purpose in the precision of his work and the subtle impact it has on the guild's operations. Each day, as he records another transaction, Edric is contributing to the quiet backbone of the economy. Without him and his fellow scribes, the guild would falter. The tradesmen, merchants, and guildmasters may be the faces of the guild, but it is the scribes, like Edric, who ensure that everything runs smoothly, one ledger entry at a time. Despite the simplicity and repetitiveness of Edric's role, there is a certain legacy that he leaves behind in the guild. He knows that his work will live on, even if it remains hidden beneath layers of dust and years of new transactions. The ledgers he has filled with his neat handwriting will continue to serve as a record of the guild's history, and for future generations of guild members, they will provide invaluable insight into the way the guild functioned during his time. As Edric reflects on his daily tasks, he begins to understand the significance of his quiet legacy. The guild will continue long after his time, but his careful records will always be there, preserving the guild's story for future generations. When a future scribe opens these ancient books, they will find the carefully chronicled accounts of every transaction, every trade, every debt paid or owed. And though the names may fade and the ink may blur over time, the impact of Edric's work will remain. There is a sense of pride in knowing that his contribution, though simple, is important. Without his attention to detail, the guild would not have the clear, accurate records that help it thrive. His legacy may not be one of grandeur or public acclaim, but it is a lasting one. In a world where history is often written in grand gestures and noble deeds, Edric's work serves as a reminder of the quiet power of precision, patience, and routine. As the last candle flickers out in the guild hall, Edric stands and surveys the quiet room. The work of the day is done. The ledgers are closed, the ink pots are put away, and the guild members have left for the evening, each retreating to their homes to rest before the cycle begins again the next day. The guild hall is empty now, and the silence feels all-encompassing. Edric has completed his task, and now, as the day draws to a close, there is a quiet sense of satisfaction in the stillness. He reflects on the simplicity of his work and the fact that the cycle will repeat tomorrow. The tradesmen will arrive with their goods, the guildmaster will give his instructions, and Edric will record every transaction just as he has for years. There is comfort in this repetition. The work may be simple, but it is necessary. And as long as the guild exists, Edric's role will remain. In the quiet of the evening, Edric is at peace with the knowledge that his life is marked by the steady rhythm of this work. It is a predictable existence, but one that brings a sense of order to the world around him. Each day he contributes to something larger than himself, a system that has persisted for generations and will continue long after he is gone. The day ends, and Edric steps out of the guild hall. The cool air of the evening brushes against his skin, and the sounds of the village are now distant, almost muffled in the quiet of night. He walks home slowly, content in the knowledge that tomorrow will bring more of the same steady rhythm, a familiar task, and the quiet satisfaction of a job well done. The guild hall is dimly lit, shadows stretching across the stone walls as the morning fog outside gives way to the first pale rays of sunlight. The atmosphere is calm and deliberate, the air thick with the scent of aged parchment and ink. Inside, the scribes work steadily at their desks, recording transactions with care and precision. But there is more to the guild's accounting than meets the eye. Hidden beneath the piles of ledgers and scrolls are secretive records, private ledgers kept under lock and key. These records are not for public view. Only the guildmaster and a select few are aware of their existence. The entries in these books are not for the casual observer. They contain more sensitive information, debts owed by members, trade agreements with unusual terms, or transactions made under special conditions. These hidden records maintain a delicate balance of power within the guild. The secrecy surrounding these ledgers is not born of malice, but of necessity. Many transactions involve sensitive matters, such as personal debts or agreements that could potentially cause friction between guild members or with outside merchants. To keep the peace and avoid unnecessary conflict, these details are kept private. The scribes, who are trusted with these accounts, do not question their purpose. They simply record them as they are told. Each day, the guild master or trusted officers of the guild will review these secret ledgers, but they do so with care, as their contents often influence decisions about trade deals, guild membership, and alliances with other groups. The ink used to record these secrets is no less important than the ink used in the public ledgers, but it carries a weight that is rarely seen by those outside of the inner circle. As the quill scratches across the parchment, you notice something unusual, a faint mark beside the name of a merchant, a symbol that doesn't quite fit the usual pattern of numbers and letters. It's not an uncommon occurrence in the guild's records, but to an outsider, it might appear as a mere decorative flourish. In reality, these symbols are part of a complex system used to encode certain transactions. Each symbol has a specific meaning, known only to the guild members. The use of symbols in accounting practices is a subtle but crucial method for maintaining privacy and security. These symbols are shorthand for a variety of things: a special deal, a debt that requires more attention, or a trade with a trusted ally. For example, a small X beside a name might indicate a debt, while a circle could mean that a special trade arrangement is in place. The symbols provide a way for the scribes to quickly note important details without writing them out in full. The guild's leaders and scribes have all been trained to understand the meaning behind these marks. If a member of the guild notices a particular symbol next to a transaction, they immediately know there is more to the deal than meets the eye. It is a system that ensures confidentiality while still keeping all members informed of important matters. It is not an obvious system, and only those who are familiar with the guild's practices know what the symbols mean. To the untrained eye, they are just marks on paper, insignificant and easily overlooked. But for the guild members, these marks are an essential part of their daily work, enabling them to manage complex transactions with discretion and precision. The practice of double-entry bookkeeping is a quiet revelation within the guild's accounting methods. This system, though seemingly simple, has far-reaching implications for the accuracy and transparency of the guild's financial records. As a scribe watches over the guild's daily transactions, they carefully record each entry in two separate accounts, one as a credit and one as a debit. The credit reflects the amount owed, and the debit represents the payment or exchange of goods. Together, these entries ensure that the books balance out, providing a clear view of the guild's financial health. The double-entry system is not an innovation of the guild. Rather, it has been passed down through generations of scribes, each one carefully maintaining the tradition. The records are methodical, and each entry is recorded with the utmost care. For each transaction that takes place, whether it's a merchant selling wool or a tradesman exchanging tools, the scribe marks two separate columns. One side reflects the amount received, and the other the amount owed. The balance of these columns must always match. This system, while efficient, also serves as a safeguard. If one column doesn't match the other, it's a clear indication that something is wrong, whether it's a mistake or an attempt to manipulate the records. The double-entry system helps catch errors and fraudulent activity before it can affect the guild's operations. The scribe who records these transactions may not be the one making the trades, but their role is just as vital. They ensure that the guild's wealth is tracked accurately, allowing the guild masters to make informed decisions about future trades and alliances. The double-entry system is a tool of both security and organization. It is simple, yet profound, providing the guild with a reliable method to track its financial standing while ensuring that each transaction is balanced and accounted for. In the quiet space of the guild hall, amidst the hum of scribes and merchants, the bursar works. His office is tucked away in a corner of the hall, a small, dimly lit room filled with piles of papers and books. The bursar is responsible for overseeing the financial records of the guild, ensuring that all transactions are logged properly and that the guild's accounts are balanced at the end of each day. While the scribes maintain the day-to-day records, the bursar's role is to review and oversee those records. At the end of each day, the scribes submit their ledgers to the bursar, who carefully goes through each one. He checks for any discrepancies, ensuring that every number matches up and that there are no errors in the entries. The bursar's job is not an easy one. It requires patience and a keen eye for detail. The bursar's role is vital in maintaining the integrity of the guild's financial system. If the guild's records are not accurate, it can lead to confusion, disputes, and even financial loss. The bursar acts as the final line of defense against errors, ensuring that everything balances correctly. He may not be involved in the trades or negotiations, but his work ensures that the guild continues to function smoothly. The bursar works in silence, carefully reviewing the ledgers, occasionally making notes in the margins or correcting minor mistakes. The quiet of his office is a stark contrast to the busy guild hall outside, but it is in this silence that the integrity of the guild's financial system is preserved. Debt collection is a delicate matter in the medieval guilds. Unlike modern systems of debt, which often involve legal recourse or public trials, medieval guilds relied heavily on personal relationships and mutual trust. The guildmaster plays a central role in this process, stepping in when debts are overdue or when conflicts arise between members. The process of debt collection is slow and methodical. When a member fails to pay their debts, the guildmaster will first try to resolve the issue through quiet negotiation. They will meet with the debtor in private, discussing the outstanding payment and coming up with a plan for repayment. This may involve an extension of time, or it could mean an agreement to exchange goods or services instead of money. The guildmaster is a mediator, seeking to maintain the harmony of the guild, while also ensuring that debts are settled. The guildmaster's approach to debt collection is not harsh or punitive. There is no public shaming or legal action taken. Instead, the process is handled with care and discretion, with a focus on finding a solution that benefits both parties. The guildmaster understands that the success of the guild depends on its ability to maintain good relationships with its members. Disputes are resolved quietly, and the guild's reputation for fairness and reliability is maintained. The guildmaster's role in debt collection is not one of power, but of diplomacy. They are there to ensure that the system works smoothly and that no member is left behind. It is a slow, deliberate process, but one that upholds the values of the guild. In the world of medieval guilds, trust is paramount. The guild's success is built on the mutual trust between its members. Without this trust, the system would collapse. Members rely on each other to honor agreements, to pay debts, and to record transactions accurately. The guild's reputation for honesty and reliability is its most valuable asset. The importance of trust is reflected in the guild's accounting practices. Every transaction is recorded with precision, ensuring that nothing is forgotten or overlooked. The guild members trust the scribes to maintain accurate records, and the scribes trust the guild members to honor their debts and agreements. This delicate balance of trust is what keeps the guild functioning smoothly. The reputation of the guild is not something that can be bought or sold. It is built over time through consistent, honest work. If a member fails to honor a debt or tries to manipulate the records, it damages the guild's reputation, and that damage can be difficult to repair. For the guildmaster and the bursar, maintaining trust is an essential part of their work. They must ensure that all records are accurate and that the guild's reputation remains untarnished. Without trust, the guild would cease to be a functioning entity. The work of the scribes, the guildmaster, and the bursar is all part of maintaining this trust and reputation, ensuring that the guild continues to thrive. As the guild's activities unfold, it becomes increasingly clear that the work of the scribes and accountants stretches far beyond the humble walls of the guild hall. The medieval accounting system, while largely invisible to outsiders, has far-reaching implications, especially in the bustling trade networks that crisscross Europe. These trade routes, which stretch across vast distances, require a level of precision and organization that is largely reliant on the work of accountants like Edric and his colleagues. While guild members focus on their day-to-day transactions, buying and selling goods within their own communities, the the true scale of their impact lies in the larger network of trade relationships. Merchants, artisans, and guilds engage in complex trade agreements with distant partners, exchanging goods like wool, spices, iron, and fine fabrics. These transactions, though often spread over great distances, rely on the integrity of the guild's accounting system to ensure that each party fulfills their obligations. Medieval accountants play a pivotal role in these trade networks. They are responsible for keeping track of accounts, recording each sale, each shipment, and each payment. The process is slow, methodical, and requires great care. Every transaction must be carefully noted, not just for the benefit of the local guild, but for the broader network of merchants who rely on accurate records. A single error in the accounting could result in a lost trade, damaged relationships, or financial instability for the guild. As the scribes record each transaction, they are not just marking the sale of a few pounds of wool or a handful of spices. They are helping to maintain the flow of goods and money across vast distances. The guild's accounts, filled with neat columns of numbers, are the foundation of this global economy. Each entry in the ledger becomes a part of the larger network, helping to establish a web of trust and accountability between merchants, guilds, and entire regions. In the quiet halls of the guild, it's easy to overlook the enormity of this task. The work may seem insignificant, just a few marks on paper, but in reality, it is the invisible thread that connects local economies to global trade systems. The slow, steady work of medieval accountants, much like Edric, is the backbone of this medieval trade network, ensuring that goods are delivered, debts are paid, and relationships are maintained. The sun's early rays seep into the room through small, thick windows, casting a soft glow over the richly adorned chamber of the guildmaster. This is a man of influence, though his power doesn't come from public demonstrations, but from the quiet authority of his position. His morning is a far cry from the hurried pace of the tradesman. There is no rush for him. The day will unfold as it will, and he will attend to it in his own time. The guildmaster rises from his bed, which is far more comfortable than anything the common guild members would ever experience. The bed is large, with fine linens and soft pillows, a stark contrast to the simple mattresses of the tradesman. He stretches, his movements deliberate but relaxed, taking his time to awaken fully. The room around him is meticulously arranged. Velvet curtains line the windows, and the air smells faintly of incense. The walls are adorned with tapestries depicting scenes of prosperity and peace, symbols of his position. Breakfast arrives soon after, brought by a servant. It is a meal of abundance: eggs, freshly baked bread, fruit, and rich, creamy butter. There is no rush to consume it. He eats slowly, savoring each bite, knowing that the day ahead holds no immediate demands. The world outside may be busy with the mundane tasks of trade and record-keeping, but here, inside the guildmaster's room, there is a sense of calm and control. This leisurely pace continues throughout the morning. The guildmaster does not worry about the ledger entries or the specifics of trade deals. Those tasks are handled by the scribes and lower-ranking guild members. Instead, his role is to oversee, to strategize, and to ensure that the guild remains at the forefront of the town's economic and social life. His day begins with comfort and ease, a stark contrast to the lives of the common guild members, who already work in the hall, preparing for the tasks ahead. The guildmaster's office is a spacious room, far grander than the humble desks of the tradesmen or scribes. It is lined with shelves filled with scrolls, ledgers, and books, each carefully arranged. The desk at the center of the room is large and polished, covered in neatly stacked papers, each one waiting for his attention. His desk is the center of authority, and everything within it represents the governance of the guild. The air in the office is still filled with the faint scent of ink, parchment, and wood. Soft candlelight flickers in the corners, casting shadows on the walls. The guildmaster moves slowly, his fingers trailing over the edges of the papers. He is not hurried. Each document is carefully reviewed before he moves on to the next. There is no rush, no ticking clock urging him forward. Each decision is made with consideration, and each agreement is reviewed with meticulous attention. The guildmaster's day is filled with meetings, though these are rarely urgent. He speaks with merchants, negotiates trade deals, and oversees the activities of the guild. The pace is slower than that of the tradesmen in the hall, whose days are filled with physical labor and constant transactions. The guildmaster's work is about strategy and relationships, ensuring that the guild remains a strong force in the town's economy. While the common guild members focus on the practical tasks of the day, the guildmaster deals in a different world, a world of words, agreements, and high-level decisions. His office, a space of quiet power, holds the weight of those decisions. Though the work is important, it is conducted in the comfort of an environment far removed from the busy hall outside. Merchants, too, are part of the guild's elite, but their daily lives contrast sharply with the routine of the tradesmen. They operate on a different level, managing not just the day-to-day exchanges, but also overseeing the flow of goods and currency across broader networks. These men and women may come from wealth, but their responsibilities are vast, and their work involves negotiating trade deals and managing relationships with other wealthy merchants, city leaders, and even foreign traders. The merchant's day begins not with a simple meal at a small table, but with a bustling start. They are up early, not for manual labor, but for strategic planning. Their first task is often to review the state of their goods, whether it's silk, spices, or other valuable commodities. They check the market prices, consider supply and demand, and prepare for the negotiations that are central to their business. While the guild members and tradesmen work in the guild hall, exchanging goods for services, the merchant's office or shop is filled with papers, ledgers, and contracts. The scent of exotic spices may fill the air, mingling with the musty smell of old documents. They spend their day not performing physical tasks, but overseeing the logistics of their trade, communicating with other traders, and organizing shipments. These merchants, though wealthier than many in the guild, do not enjoy the same leisurely pace as the guild master. Their day is often filled with constant interactions. Decisions must be made quickly, deals must be finalized, and the pressure to maintain financial stability is constant. Despite the luxury of their goods, their life is far from simple. Their role in the guild is indispensable, but their work is marked by complexity and high stakes. Though the nobility doesn't directly engage in the daily activities of the guilds, their influence is profound. Many guilds have connections to the local aristocracy, and these relationships affect the way the guilds operate. A noble patron may fund a guild, provide protection, or serve as a mediator in disputes. This connection brings a sense of prestige and status to the guild, but also demands a certain level of deference and loyalty. The nobility's involvement is not always visible, but it shapes the direction of the guild. A guild master might have a noble background, or they may have been appointed by a local lord to manage the guild's affairs. In such cases, the guild's operations may align more closely with the interests of the nobility, ensuring that the guild remains in the good graces of those in power. This influence is not without its complications. For the common guild members, the nobility's impact on their daily lives is more indirect. They are not invited to the grand feasts or the discussions held in the noble halls. However, they are still affected by the decisions made at those high tables. Trade agreements, prices, and the general stability of the guild often hinge on the relationships between the guild and the nobility. The common guild members may not see it, but their work is shaped by these hidden connections. The nobility's influence, though sometimes subtle, creates a divide between the elite members of the guild and the common workers. The decisions made by the guild master, influenced by noble interests, shape the lives of everyone within the guild, even if they are unaware of it. Within the guild hall, a complex system of governance operates behind the scenes. The tradesmen, merchants, and guild masters may be the most visible members of the guild, but it is the bureaucratic structure that ensures everything runs smoothly. The guild masters, the bursar, the scribes, each has a role in this system, and each is responsible for the accurate functioning of the guild's operations. The bureaucratic nature of the guild is slow, methodical, and precise. Each transaction, each trade, each debt is logged and reviewed. The scribes write, the guild master approves, and the bursar checks for accuracy. This system prevents chaos from taking over, ensuring that every member is accounted for and that the guild's business continues without interruption. While the guild master focuses on higher-level decisions, the day-to-day management of the guild is handled by this quiet bureaucracy. The scribes write in the ledgers, the bursar reviews the records, and the guild master oversees it all. Every detail is accounted for, and every decision is carefully weighed. The work is slow, but it is essential. Without this system in place, the guild would not function properly. Though the tradesmen and merchants may be the public face of the guild, it is the bureaucratic machinery that keeps everything running smoothly. It is a system that operates in the background, unnoticed but essential to the success of the guild. For the common guild member, life is marked by repetition and routine. There is no grand strategy, no negotiations with merchants or nobility, just the slow, steady work that fills the hours of the day. The tasks may vary perhaps. Today you are working with wool, tomorrow with leather, but the rhythm of the work remains the same. You wake early, you prepare your tools, and you begin your labor. Unlike the guild master or the merchants, your role is not one of decision-making or negotiation. You are not worried about trade prices or guild alliances. Your focus is on the work in front of you. Whether you are a weaver, a blacksmith, or a scribe, your job is clear: produce, create, record, and keep the work moving forward. There is no rush, no need to hurry. The day stretches on in predictable patterns. The work may be simple, but it is essential. The guild would not function without the steady labor of its common members. You may not have the wealth or influence of the guild master, but your contribution is no less important. The guild relies on you to maintain the rhythm of its daily life. Your life is quieter, more predictable, and less glamorous, but it is a life of steady purpose. And as the day ends and you return home, you know that tomorrow will bring more of the same. The rhythm of work will continue, and the guild will remain strong, all thanks to the quiet, unheralded labor of the common guild member. As we come to the end of this journey through the accounting practices of medieval guilds, take a moment to reflect on the contrasting lives of those who worked in the guilds. From the calm, steady rhythm of a scribe's day to the fast-paced negotiations of merchants and guild masters, these lives, though vastly different, were all essential to the functioning of the medieval economy. As you drift off to sleep, think about the long history of routine and repetition that has shaped our world. The steady, quiet work of people like Edric the scribe ensured that trade and business could flourish. And just like the guild members of the past, the quiet rhythm of your breath can bring you peace and rest. Let your body relax further as the night carries you forward. And remember that the gentle routines of the past were often just as important as the grand moments of history. Good night.